called for the proposed marriage bill to introduce tighter measures to regulate marriages between South African citizens and foreign nationals, citing concerns over the prevalence of fraudulent unions. The residents also argue that there are loopholes being exploited, undermining the integrity of the country's marital system. Home Affairs Portfolio Committee Chairperson Musa Chabani says socioeconomic challenges lead to some of these marriages.
Hi guys, watch this video to the end. Welcome to Ijoma TV channel. See things that you need before you marry a South African woman or a man as a foreigner. It's stated in this video. I will leave you guys to listen to the new rules now in South Africa before you marry to their person. Don't forget to share so that others will benefit from it.
Some are raising the means of money that they don't have money. Others are raising the issue of unemployment. And also those that are from outside the country are utilizing the system in order to access our documents to affirm their status, citizenship in our country. Those are some of the issues that they were engaging with the Department of Home Affairs. We can say with confidence that the Department of Home Affairs Counter-Corruption Unit are hard at work to make sure that we keep this illegal means. You have seen in the previous years that people have been arrested, documents have been exposed, and this all is the work of the law enforcement agency in relation to the work that we have assigned them to do collectively.
Now, for more on the story, we are joined by Lucia Pugana, who's an Executive Director of NLB Attorneys. Lucia, very good evening to you, and thank you so much for your time and for joining us this evening. Maybe from an attorney's point of view, do you think that this call by the Mopani residents to have stricter measures, especially when regulating marriages between South Africans and foreign nationals, is a plea that really should be looked into?
Definitely. I mean, obviously, you know that there's a lot of people who have complained and lodged disputes regarding fake marriages or illegal marriages where they have no idea that they're even married. Some do go into the marriages, obviously, for socio-economic reasons, but definitely it's something that really needs to be looked at by our government and by the Department of Home Affairs. There really needs to be stricter measures in place, especially with the interview process that's already in place. There really needs to be a verification of the letter of non-impediment, basically making sure that people that are really getting married are getting into the marriage for the proper reasons.
Yeah. So you speak about the interview process that is in place. Just walk us through the step-by-step legal process that then will be followed once this marriage bill is enacted, particularly regarding to the verification of these marriages.
Yes, so particularly with marriages with a foreign national, first thing is that obviously they will need to produce their identification in the form of a passport with a visa or a permit. But secondly, there is a requirement that they need to provide the apostilled letter of non-impediment. It's different from the current dispensation right now because currently they just need to provide the letter of non-impediment. But now with this marriage bill, the important part is that it needs to be an apostilled letter, which means that obviously it needs to be verified as an official document from the country of origin. So those are the two things that I feel like are already the bill will assist with. But also in terms of the interview process at Home Affairs, they do need to sit with the two spouses or the two potential partners, and they need to be interviewed so that Home Affairs can verify indeed that these two people are in a relationship.
And could there be unexpected house visits, perhaps, by officials from Home Affairs to ensure that this really does exist as a marriage?
Certainly, definitely. That's one of the requirements that I think in the legal field we feel like it's currently lacking, because it's only one interview at the moment that takes place. But it's important, and I think that they need to implement some sort of a longer process, or not just one interview, house visits, maybe also checking bank accounts to ensure that these people are indeed living together and support each other even financially.
I mean, these residents argue that there are loopholes that are being exploited. What do you think are the main loopholes that people simply are able to use in undermining the country's marital system?
Well, like I've just said, the fact that there's only one interview. I mean, you just need to go with your potential partner and just sit for one interview. In terms of loopholes, the fact that the letter of non-impediment is not currently, it's not a requirement for it to be apostilled. So I mean, we know that anyone can just go and just draft a letter and put a stamp, and that obviously when they go to Home Affairs, the officials will look at the letter and be like, okay, this is an official letter, but there needs to be something more.
And would the processes also apply, especially mean the legal tools or the processes that would be used to ensure that traditional leaders and other designated marriage officers also need to adhere to in order to verify these procedures that are stipulated in the bill?
Yes, so in terms of the bill, there is now recognition to the traditional leaders in order for them to also be able to solemnize marriages, which is something that's new and actually welcome. But also traditional leaders need to work hand in hand with the Department of Home Affairs, because one person can get married with a traditional leader and get married somewhere else in a civil union with another person at Home Affairs. So there needs to be really a serious coordination between the traditional leaders that are going to solemnize the marriages as well as Home Affairs.
And how do you think this bill would be able to balance between the tighter regulation, and some will also ask about the protection of the individuals involved?
Well, yes, the bill on its own is just a legislation. So all it can do is just prescribe what needs to be done. I think where it lacks, it's at enforcement level. So there really needs to be stricter measures at Home Affairs. They need to be able to put measures in place that allow for them to verify documents, to verify identifications, and to have home visits, as some people have suggested.
How imperative, especially for processes such as this, is for the education as well as the introduction and the involvement of the public in order for them to be able to voice out what they think really is needed when it comes to putting together a bill of this nature?
Yeah, so it's already important. I mean, the Parliament is really doing a big step by holding these public hearings, and it's obviously something that we welcome. But there needs to be more in terms of advertising the fact that these public hearings are taking place. And I think they need to also make sure that, especially in the rural areas, they need to make sure that they're there. Maybe more than one sitting needs to take place, because a lot of the time you'll find that people are not even aware that the public hearings are there. But it's very important for them to be aware, because that is exactly the reason why these hearings are taking place. Because Parliament needs to hear the voice of the people and need to understand exactly what the people on the ground are going through.
And what would most likely be the consequences when found that such a marriage is just transactional and really it's not as authentic as it's put out to be?
Well, currently, in terms of the bill, they do make there is provision for a criminal offense. So if a marriage officer, for example, is aware that this marriage is not real, or the parties really are not intending to get into a real marriage, they then are liable to face criminal offenses for up to 5 years.
Now, would need to approach the Department of Home Affairs. You would need to take a copy of your South African ID, a certified copy of your South African ID, a certified copy of your foreign spouse or partner's passport, and a valid entry or visa or a valid visa to the Department of Home Affairs. This also needs to be accompanied by a letter of non-impediment, a letter of non-marriage for your foreign spouse from their country, stating that they are not married in their country. If they were previously married and are divorced, they would also need to submit a copy of the divorce decree. If any of their documents are not in English, the documents would need to be translated first before you go to the Department of Home Affairs. There are some countries that form part of the Commonwealth that doesn't issue letter of non-impediments or letter of non-marriages. They, however, issue letters stating that they are part of the Commonwealth territories and that they can confirm that your partner is not married. You would then need to take that letter to a police station and have an affidavit also accompany that letter. Remember, this is only for the people who come from like Commonwealth, USA, UK, Australia, and so on. So those countries, they don't do what we call letter of non-impediments. They just issue a notice, and you would need to take that notice, the original notice, you would need to take to the police station, and they will give you an affidavit here in South Africa. When you get to Home Affairs, you would need to go to the marriage officer desk and tell them that you need a referral letter because you would like to get married, and you would need to state that your partner obviously is a foreigner. They will check the documentation, they will check your ID and do a status update to see that you are not married. And if you as a South African was married previously, you would also need to submit a copy of your divorce decree. Once that process is completed, the marriage officer or the officer sitting at that desk will give you a referral letter. You will then go to the immigration division. Immigration will then check to see if all the documentation is there that is required. They will take the documentation in with your contact details, and they will advise you that you will be informed when you need to come in for a marriage interview. They will then proceed to contact the issuing authorities of said country to verify the documentation that you've handed in to them. So if your partner is from Netherlands, they will contact the embassy to check to see that yes, this person is actually a Netherlands.
Today we are talking about how to get you married to your foreign love on South African soil. I'm Anna, I'm a registered marriage officer working out of Johannesburg, South Africa. So the important thing to know if you are involved with a foreigner is that all foreigners require what is called a letter of non-impediment in order to marry in this country. That letter declares that the person is not already married back in their home country. In some instances, that letter is available through an embassy here. In all instances, it is available via the actual home country's Department of Home Affairs or their equivalent. If your partner is a permanent resident in this country, again, all they need is the Lonnie, we're good to go. If they are not a permanent resident, they are here on a visa or they are not here at all, but you are planning on marrying them in this country, then you also need to undertake an interview with the Department of Home Affairs, and they will then give you permission to marry in this country. So all foreigners require the Lonnie letter. Only real 100% foreigners are required to do the interview with the Department of Home Affairs. Reach out if you would like a little bit more detail. Today we are talking about how to get you married to your foreign love on South African soil. I'm Anna, I'm a registered marriage officer working out of Johannesburg, South Africa. So the important thing to know if you are involved with a foreigner is that all foreigners require what is called a letter of non-impediment in order to marry in this country. That letter declares that the person is not already married back in their home country. In some instances, that letter is available through an embassy here. In all instances, it is available via the actual home country's Department of Home Affairs or their equivalent. If your partner is a permanent resident in this country, again, all they need is the Lonnie, we're good to go. If they are not a permanent resident, they are here on a visa or they are not here at all, but you are planning on marrying them in this country, then you also need to undertake an interview with the Department of Home Affairs, and they will then give you permission to marry in this country. So all foreigners require the Lonnie letter. Only real 100% foreigners are required to do the interview with the Department of Home Affairs.
You have to have a prenup if you're getting married. And hear me out. Like, I've got some reasons why. Listen to the end, because it's really important. If you know somebody is getting married in South Africa, or you are getting married in South Africa, why do you need a prenup, and why is it so crucial that you have one? Okay, so in South Africa, we call them antenuptial contracts, but for this purpose, I'm going to call them prenups, okay? A prenup is drafted in South Africa by a notary, okay? So it's a specialized attorney. So not just any attorney can do it. Most attorneys will get a power of attorney and be able to do it, but a notary has to actually sign off on the agreement. They need to be registered at the deeds office. So a prenup must be signed before the marriage, okay? And then it needs to be registered within 3 months. It's got 3 months to register. It doesn't have to be registered before the marriage, but it must be signed before the marriage. The reason why I say it's so important to have a prenup, and I'm really like, guys, it's something that everyone needs to have. If you're getting married, have one. It just protects you against creditors, number one. So it's not a plan for saying, oh, well, we're definitely going to get divorced, so let's say how our assets are going to be split. Not at all. The main thing about an antenuptial contract is that you are protecting each other from creditors coming and collecting your stuff. So if you have an antenuptial contract, you can have one where you say everything we acquire during our marriage will be put into a pot at the end of the marriage, whether it be through death or divorce, and that will be shared equally. So that's pretty much like, having a joint estate for the time that you're married, but it's different because creditors can't come and take your stuff and keep it. They can take it, but they can't keep it. Okay, so they are not able to attach your belongings for your spouse's debt. So your spouse gets into debt, and then you are then either blacklisted as well because you're married in community of property, or your assets are attached because they're their assets. It's the joint assets. So there's different ways to get married with an antenuptial contract. You can either get married out of community of property, including the accrual system, or without the accrual system. The accrual system is my way of saying like it's a shared pot during the marriage. And without means what's yours is yours and what's mine is mine. So in South Africa, I really think it's important that people get antenuptial contracts. You can register a postnuptial contract. It is hell of a difficult. I'm going to do a completely separate video on that. But it is so imperative that if you are getting married in South Africa, you get hold of a notary and you do an antenuptial contract. They aren't cheap because we have to register them and it's a lot of work. But it's a must. Budget it into your wedding cost. It needs to be done.
You can marry anyone you want to in South Africa, whether they are a South African or not. However, there are some basic requirements. If you are going to marry a non-South African, you need to marry them in South Africa. You cannot marry them over the internet. They need to physically be there. They need to be witnesses. So if the person is a non-South African, it doesn't matter. Are they in South Africa when they were getting married? The answer is yes or no. If the answer is no, it is not under South African law. If the answer is yes, then you were married under South African law, and your antenuptial contracts or anything else will apply. You can marry.
Wow, this is so nice. So for those who are interested in marrying any South African person, citizen, either you are a foreigner or you are a South African who is already having an affair with a foreigner. So I believe you have understand the new law in South Africa that before you got married to any South African citizen, either a man or a woman, this is the law for you to qualify, because most people marry them for them to have rights in South Africa, for them to be documented in South Africa, for them not to be illegal in South Africa. But with this, they need this qualification before you can get married to their person as a citizen. I hope that people understand this. It's not about it to marry a foreigner or outside your country or your state, but did you qualify to marry such person? So these people have now implement their laws that guide South Africans. Yeah, so I believe that this is like court marriage, like civic marriage. If I may put it like that, it's a civic marriage, it's a court marriage things. I don't believe that maybe it's a traditional marriage, no. So I believe that tradition, maybe they will have different way in different states, in different community, in different family, how they do their own. So this one now, I believe is a civil marriage before you can qualify to even to have everything that qualify to be a wife or a husband to a South African person. This is good news. Kudos to everyone in South Africa. So if you wish to marry a South African man or woman, make sure you have all it takes, all the qualities, because these people are not playing, or they are not smiling. They are putting their country in order to be standard. So I don't know, how do you see it? You can let us know in the comment section. Share your opinion. You are free to share your opinion, to talk your mind. Exactly, because nobody is fighting each other. We are one. We are free here to exercise how we see things. Me, I am here just to analyze. But to me, if you ask me, I say kudos to them. They have provided what it will take for you to marry their person. So I don't need to question them. It's their own. I don't need to ask them any question. So you, how do you see this new law that they implement in South Africa before you become their in-law? Let us know under the comment section of this video. Don't forget, this is Ijoma TV, your one and only yes, who always give information about South Africa. I love you guys. Without you guys, I cannot do it. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel, Ijoma TV. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye bye.